I was raised in church in a very church-going family. My parents always took us to church anytime anything was going on. My grandparents were missionaries, so my life had been prayed for long before I came along. Church was just what we did. And I was always one to want to follow rules and want to do what was right so that people would be happy with me and everything. So it was second nature to just go to church because my parents wanted me to. And it felt right. It felt like a good thing. I knew it was a good thing. And so even as I became a young adult and entered my 20s and was living on my own and making my own decisions, I continued to go to church because I knew it was the right thing to do. It felt like the right thing to do, so I just continued that path. It was about that time in my early 20s that I had my first weird experience with church people and really got hurt. And it was hard for me then to realize that God is still good and that people can be bad. And because most of what I had was just following the rules. It was just kind of doing what you were supposed to do as a Christian. And so I associated the way the people in the church were acting towards me with God Himself. And so I just figured if this is how church people act, then I might as well not be here, because at least people outside of the church I don't expect anything out of, so they're not going to let me down. Through making friends that didn't have any standards, obviously you get into bad situations, and so it was just one bad decision that led to another, and I began just this just trail of just drugs and alcohol and just irresponsible decisions for quite a while. And I just kept living until just through a sequence of very small things where my mind just started thinking about the truth of where I was, like realizing that I was making decisions that were not getting me anywhere, that my life was just on this weird destructive path, and that the people I called friends really weren't my friends at all if I didn't have something to give them. And just kind of my eyes were starting to be opened to where I was. And through a bunch of really tiny circumstances, I got back into church. God completely changed my life. And it was bizarre because I've heard stories of it in the past, but it was like an instant. I've never looked back since. There was never a day where I doubted making that decision. But from there, I really learned what it was like to have a relationship with God. I never touched drugs again after that day. I never had a desire to have that life back. I just immediately started changing. And I really learned what it was like to love Jesus, and that being a Christian wasn't being this certain thing, but it was being you in love with Jesus. And now looking back on the Christian that I was before, it just makes me almost sick, because now I know what I was missing then. And it's relationship. It's being in love with Jesus and not just doing the right things. And what I know now is that there are lots of people who are where I used to be. And my passion through worship or through anything is just for people to get where I am now, where they're just in love. And I mean, so the reason I have the hope that I have today is because I know that Jesus has changed my life, and I'm not who I was, and I'm never going back.